Hill, but they did so by masking a lot of issues through Patrick Mahomes, make it a little bit easier. They cannot expect to continue to survive every season without adding some weapons. That's not to say that they are not great. Obviously, I'm respecting all that they have done, but just find a way to add a weapon like Deebo Samuel.
Bill Barnwell?
Love it. I mean, Deebo Samuel is the yak god. Last 4 years in ESPN's yak score, first, and second amongst receivers. Chiefs have some good receivers, but not guys who are typically going to make magic happen on their own. Deebo Samuel is the kind of guy who could run away from cornerbacks and run through tackle attempts. The Chiefs don't have that guy, especially with Rashee Rice injured this past season.
Yeah, if you get the Chiefs another weapon, look out again because we don't know Travis Kelce's future. Finally, Damian Woody, it is your chance. I want you to get so crazy it doesn't even make sense.
No, it makes perfect sense, actually. How about picking out this NFL replay for these type of plays right here? Okay, the personal foul on the quarterback, we've got to do something about this. These plays are too consequential in games, especially in these playoff games where we have phantom calls going on out here that are costing teams. The NFL, we got an apparatus to go ahead and clarify this stuff. Let's take advantage of it.
So you're saying you should be able to replay some of these awful roughing the passer calls?
Absolutely. They're too consequential. 15 yards? Come on, man. We got to do something about that.
Jeff Darlington, I would take it one step further because I think that's fantastic. You know what my pet peeve is with replays, and we just saw it there? You can make anything look how you want it when you slow it down. Football's not played in slow motion. Do the damn replay full speed.
Also, do we have to just show the Chiefs one every single time? It's always the one where they're, literally in fast motion. I feel like that's just not the one to show. There's so many of them. I do agree with what Damian's saying, and I think it's okay to slow things down. But man, that one every single time, like the refs in real time. That's tough to call. I do agree that replay would help situations like that.
Because it's one of those game situations, Barnwell, like we just said. Those are pivotal calls. And they are sometimes, most oftentimes now, with how we're protecting quarterbacks, aren't warranted.
Yeah, I would say the thing here is bring a sky judge in. Refs are going to make mistakes. That's the inevitability of football because of the speed that you guys have brought up. It's going to be hard to make those calls in a fraction of a second. Bring in a sky judge. Let them act quickly. Don't require a challenge. Have someone up top watching video on every play saying, hey, if there's an obvious mistake, like a missed face mask, like a hit to the head of Patrick Mahomes that was a phantom hit, get that call right. That's going to make the game better without slowing it down too much.
So like a sky judge, a guy hanging out with a propelling jetpack? Like how are we where's our sky judge going to be hanging out?
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, we had the Booker movie a few years ago.
When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line, it was really the interior that was the elite part of that offensive line. So bringing in a guy like Trey Smith to help fortify the Cowboys' interior of their offensive line, I think will go a long way towards rebuilding and reestablishing a line of scrimmage with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, because when you look at their heyday recently, and by heyday I mean winning the division, making the playoffs, Zach Martin, who just retired, he was out there. They always drafted up front back in the teens of the 2000s of Jeff Darlington. That made them contenders year in and year out for that division. It just hasn't been that way. So in your mind, how close are the Cowboys to going with the five-step plan and being contenders?
Nothing about their last off seasons have suggested that they're willing to be that aggressive. So it's more of a show me situation. Don't tell me about it. That was a wonderful presentation, but I felt like I was back in the 8th grade history class where halfway through it, I was literally looking down at my phone, scrolling. It was wonderful. It was very interesting, but I just realized, oh my God, the Cowboys have a lot to do. Actually, I'm pretty young. The Nokia 5120, that thing was pretty, playing Snake on that thing. Listen, Bill, that was amazing. That was wonderful. But my head hurts for the Cowboys. Yeah. Oh, my God. They have a lot to do. They have a lot to do.
See, Jeff Darlington, back when us old guys were in 8th grade, we actually had an overhead projector where you slide this thing on it, this plastic slip. And then
what about the graphics calculator? Remember the calculator? You could put the games on there and play too? Anyway,
was that a Texas Instruments?
Was
that a Texas Instruments TI-82?
No, TI-82.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll get to the vintage technology in just a minute.
Fine.
So we're calling this Freaky Friday because we want things to be crazy this offseason. We want our guys to be crazier than they already are. So Bill Barnwell, give me a crazy move that needs to happen this offseason.
Here's a crazy move. Get Lamar Jackson, the best receiver he's ever had, in Tyreek Hill. The Dolphins, there's been some.
Big news, Chiefs Kingdom. The NFL has officially set the 2025 salary cap between $277.5 million and $281.5 million, at least a $22 million increase from last season. That's more than most experts predicted, which is great news for Kansas City. Right now, the Chiefs have an estimated $4.80 to $8.80 million in cap space. That's not much to work with, especially for a team aiming to stay on top. So, what does this mean for Brett Veach and his offseason strategy? He'll need to free up cap space, and fast, to make the necessary moves. This brings up an important question: how should the Chiefs create room in the cap? Should they cut veteran players? Restructure contracts? Or is there another way? Let's break it all down. But first, how much cap space do you think the Chiefs need to make real improvements? Drop your number in the comments. One way to clear cap space is by cutting players. But for the Chiefs, that's easier said than done. The only real cut candidates are Travis Kelce and Joe Thuney, two absolute stars. Kelce is already considering retirement, and if he walks away, the Chiefs would free up $17.3 million in cap space. But losing him would be a massive hit to the offense. On the other hand, cutting Joe Thuney could save $16 million, but it would also create $11 million in dead money. Given how valuable he is on the O-line, is that really a smart move? So, here's the real question for you. If you had to pick one, cut Kelce or Thuney, who would it be? Or should the Chiefs keep both? Vote in the comments. Now, since cutting players isn't an ideal solution, let's talk about a strategy the Chiefs use all the time: restructuring contracts. If there's one thing Brett Veach knows how to do, it's restructure contracts. This is where the real cap space magic happens. Let's start with the big one, Patrick Mahomes. His cap hit for 2025 is a massive $66.3 million, but with a simple restructure, the Chiefs could free up as much as $39 million. That alone could completely change the team's offseason strategy. Next up, Chris Jones. His current cap hit sits at $34.9 million, but a restructure could clear $20.7 million. Since his contract was designed for flexibility, it's almost a given that Veach will adjust it. Kelce and Thuney? Since both are entering their final contract years, they aren't ideal candidates for traditional restructures. However, the Chiefs could use void years to spread out payments, keeping their cap hits lower for 2025. One name to watch: Jawan Taylor. His contract has been criticized, and while the Chiefs probably won't touch it now, he could be a cap casualty in 2026. So, if you were Veach, which contract would you restructure first? Drop your answer in the comments. Now, restructuring helps for 2025, but what about 2026? That's where things get tricky. Let's take a look. When the Chiefs restructure contracts, they aren't just affecting 2025, they're pushing cap hits into 2026 and beyond. And that's something Veach has to be careful about. For starters, Mahomes and Chris Jones already have massive cap numbers for 2026, and any restructuring this year will only make those numbers bigger. That's why some experts believe the Chiefs might work on a new contract for Mahomes sooner rather than later. Another key issue? Left tackle. Right now, the Chiefs don't have a clear long-term solution, and that's one of the most expensive positions to fill. Then there's Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis. The Chiefs will likely pick up their fifth-year options, locking in $28 million for 2026. But extensions for both players could lower those cap hits in the future. So, what do you think? Should the Chiefs prioritize extensions for McDuffie and Karlaftis this offseason? Let's hear your thoughts. Now, with all these factors in mind, what's the final game plan for Veach? Let's wrap it up. So, what's the game plan? Don't expect drastic cuts. Instead, Veach will likely focus on restructuring key contracts, especially for Mahomes and Chris Jones, to free up cap space while keeping the long-term picture in mind. The Chiefs also need to think ahead to 2026, balancing immediate moves with long-term roster stability. That means prioritizing extensions for young stars like McDuffie and Karlaftis while keeping an eye on the left tackle situation. At the end of the day, Veach has proven time and time again that he knows how to navigate the cap while keeping the Chiefs in Super Bowl contention. Now, let's hear from you. If you were Veach, what would be your number one priority for the salary cap? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget, stay locked into Total Chiefs for all the latest updates on the off-season moves.